All right, good morning, Alta Realty Group agents. This is Kevin Lauren. I'm the Director of Training and Marketing, and today we have a very special webinar in this shelter in place, in this COVID-19 virus situation. We want to do a couple of different things today. We're going to be, going over, or Travis is going to be going over the updates to the disclosures and real estate guidelines with respect to COVID-19. And Bill will be going over mortgage relief and letting us know what's going on with that. And then at the back half of our presentation today, we're going to have Alta Realty Group agent Michelle Gordon join us, and she's going to be going over a couple different things, local community info. She's really dialed into what's going on in her community with respect to the COVID-19 restrictions and so forth. And we're also going to be doing a little Q&A with her on what she's been doing to build her business during this kind of downtime. So I'm going to bring on our our corporate broker. One second, guys. We've got a lot of people on this webinar today, so I have to find him. All right, Travis, there you are. Can you hear me, buddy?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. And Bill Seitz, our Director of Clearview Mortgage, is also with us. Good morning, Bill.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are we today?
Really good.
You laid it out pretty well, Kevin. We got a full webinar today.
Yeah, we absolutely do. So before we get into it, what you see on your screen right now, this is our Alta Realty Group agent Facebook group. And so this is a really good, I want all of you guys to, in fact, I'm going to put this URL in the chat, and I want everybody that's on the webinar to hop on there and join. And so what this does is, Travis has been posting things into this this group. So, things about social distancing, any updates, really, really good for everybody to follow this. So Travis, you want to just give us a little brief overview of how you're using this?
Well, it's really just a good way to communicate on a daily basis with everyone.
Yeah.
And for everybody to communicate with each other too, as to what's going on in their market, maybe some best practices that they're using right now. So,
yeah, great way for
you treat it as a forum or, whatever, but let's use this to communicate and stay up to date with, what's going on, because things are changing by the day, by the hour, Yeah. So.
Big time.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, so that's the Facebook group. We just wanted a little housekeeping item. That's a real good way for everyone to communicate together and even, feed off of each other, and, you can answer each other's questions, and it's just it'll build some good group dynamic. Another thing that we're going to be doing on Friday is we're going to have our first ARG Zoom cocktail party. It'll be our first remote cocktail party that we're going to do 6 o'clock on Friday. And so I'll send out a little invite. And so, we just want to take a little breather at the end of the week and, just take a couple minutes to say hi to everybody. And it'll be a good way for us to just, just kind of loosen up for a second, have a little cheers, and start the weekend. So that'll be fun as well.
Yeah, Travis, you said you attended your first Zoom happy hour the other day, right?
Party.
Yeah, I feel like I'm hooked now.
Right?
No, it's great because you get to put a face to a lot of names that you haven't seen before, and still feel connected even though we're all kind of separate.
No, that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
So, Bill, if you would open up for us, I've got your video here.
Yeah, so I know last week.
Play it.
Yeah, last week we had some technical difficulties with this video. He actually pushed out another video this morning, which I listened to, and since we didn't have enough time to and I don't want to piggyback 2 videos in one webinar, but we'll maybe put it up for next week. But he did have some updates, and I'll kind of maybe circle back with that after we play this. But once again, this is Matt Ishbia, and he's president and CEO of United Wholesale. They are the largest wholesale mortgage company in the United States. And so we do a lot of business with them. And, I've been out to visit their facility 2 times last year, and they're a really well-run organization. But I think what you're going to get from this video, it's only about 3.5 minutes long, is you're just going to get a sense of what they're going through on their end and how that's affecting us as realtors, because we're all interconnected. As we know, the financing through the real estate is it's all interlinked. And you're going to see some of the challenges that he's going to present here and what's going on. So let's run through this, and then I'll kind of have some comments on the back end of it, Kevin.
Okay, you got it. And let me know if you can't hear the sound. Here we go.
Hi there, I'm Matt Ishbia, President and CEO of UWM, and this is the Weekly Fast Break. This week we talked to our team about the mortgage market and the dislocation, what's going on out there in the industry. As you guys know, non-QM loans are basically gone, right? Locks, everyone's worried about their locks. Protect your locks, right? Understand that the market is like, you can't get the appraiser in there. You can't get the title company to do it. Like, the locks have to be protected. The mortgage market dislocation, along with, on top of that, verification of employment, what's going on in the market and how it's affecting your consumers. And so be all over this. Understand there's a lot of changes. They're changing every hour right now with things going on in the market. And we're here to support you guys and give you all the information every single time we can. AEs will call you, we'll reach out to make sure we're here for you in the crazy time we're in. Hopefully everyone's safe and taking care of themselves. The mortgage market dislocation, what's going on? Non-QM. Jumbo loans are really falling off. Non-QM is gone. What else is happening? Watch for overlays, credit guidelines, things that are happening right now very fast in our industry. Also, on top of that, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they came out with some guidelines and some guidance to help with what's going on in the market. So things such as appraisal. So by the way, when you go to our website, when you log in the pipeline, you'll see a little walk wheel pop up. All you do is click on it. It'll take you to this full announcement. But Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac guidance on appraisals, right? Instead, on a purchase, appraiser can't get in, it's okay. We can do a 2055. There's different ways around it where people don't have to go in the house. Even final inspections, you can do these things on purchases, on primary residence, on second homes, but investments is a little different. Cash out refinances, you need a full appraisal. But rate and terms, if it's Fannie Mae to Fannie Mae, you can do potentially just a 2055, right? And so making it easier for these situations. Same thing with Freddie Mac to Freddie Mac. Now, if it's coming from an FHA loan to a Fannie Mae, full appraisal. So take a look at the guidelines and the guidance from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac on appraisals. It's important to understand this stuff and how it's going to impact your loans and your borrowers. Also, VOEs. The new VOE process and borrower attestation. So every closing, there's a borrower attestation where the borrowers are actually have to initial that, hey, listen, I have not lost my job. The stuff on the 1003 is accurate and informational, and they have to attest to that at the closing. The title company, title agent's going to sign it that they did make them fill it out. If they change it or modify it, they have to let UWM know. But on top of that, just the VOE process in general, 10 days, 15 days, like 2.5 million people are going to file for unemployment this week. So we have to do VOEs not 10 days or 20 days out. You got to do them same day. So purchases are closing today. We got to make sure they are still employed today. Refinance is the same thing. Like, they have to be employed and they have to be getting their income, because we don't want to, and I know you don't want to do delinquent loans. We don't want to put people in bad situations, and we're not going to do it. So it's going to be a little bit, clunkier than the regular process with VOEs and borrower attestation, but this is the market we're in. So understand the market, understand what it is. Protect your locks. Don't forget, protect your locks always, because who knows, maybe it takes 4 days to do a VOE. Who knows what's going to happen, but we're going to be doing the second VOE the day of closing, or, so therefore we know, and it should be easier because we already did the first one, so it should be easier to confirm, but it's really wild times out there. Make sure you understand the mortgage market. UWM is here to support you. Take a look at the guidance on our website. We've got your back. You've got our back. We're going to do great by consumers. We're going to help America through this tough time as a team. Thanks for joining me. I'm Matt Ishbia, President and CEO of UWM, and that was the Weekly Fast Break.
Okay.
He's got some energy.
Yeah, Matt, he's an incredible leader, as you can tell. He's passionate about what he does. And
you got to meet him, right?
Yeah, no, I've met him, chatted with him a couple different times. Really inspiring person. But he covered a lot of territory right there. And I think all of us can relate to a big portion of what he had talked about. Non-QM, he said, is gone. I can verify that. Catherine and I just went through that process.
Yep.
We had her loan approved through a non-QM lender, and that got basically shot down. He said jumbo is almost but gone. So a lot of lenders now aren't doing jumbo loans. And the reason being is a lot of these investors, as big as UWM, they don't have a finite line of credit to lend on, right? So what happens is they do the loans, right? They do the loans on their line, and they rely on the secondary market to purchase these loans and free up the line so they can go out and keep lending. But what's happening now is certain products like jumbo and non-QM, all this stuff, there's no more investors in the secondary market to take on these loans. They're saying they're perceiving too much risk in the market. They don't want to invest now because they're not sure what values are going to be in 6 months. There's a lot of uncertainty, as Matt mentioned. So it's really important to see kind of how things are going. And he mentions it. It's a very fluid situation. This is a guy that has top information coming down from the top down in his industry. And he says it himself. This is changing almost daily, hourly. Travis mentioned it as well early in the introduction. It's just stuff that we got to be on top of. And I'm going to do my best to relay that to you guys on a weekly basis. The positive news is a lot of just the conventional loans, a lot of the traditional, I've seen some of the credit requirements for FHA and VA get pulled up a bit. So normally when some of the investors would loan under like a 600 FICO, they've kind of pulled those up now. There's very few people doing low FICO lending, as you can imagine. They're really trying to tighten their buckles and make sure that they're not going to be in a situation where they're lending to people that are not going to be able to repay these loans.
Yeah.
And lastly, the VOE, he mentioned the word the acronym VOE. That's verification of employment. So a lot of these lenders now are changing their guidelines on verifying who has a job, who doesn't. You could do the VOE, partially through the process of a purchase or refinance. Now they're pulling it right up to the end of closing, verifying, making sure they're in an industry that's going to be sound, and there's going to be someone to repay this this mortgage back. So, that's really it on that end. I'll keep everyone posted on what I'm hearing and as things change, especially with appraisals and some of the other things. But I think you've heard it as well from Matt that appraisals, they're trying to find solutions. It's not just going to be, they're, whether it's a drive-by or a desktop appraisal or depending on if it's a purchase or refinance, they're finding ways to get it done. But I do emphasize everyone just needs to have a little more patience than normal.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a transaction and the transaction looks solid, it looks good, but maybe the appraiser couldn't get out there or they couldn't get something happens, just, it's a fine line, right? Because we got to protect our sellers and we got to do all these things. Just be mindful that it's not regular business right now.
No.
You've got a company like his company who has, I think, 5,000 employees. I would imagine over half of them are working from home now, maybe more. I have no idea, but I would say a minimum of half of his staff is working from home. So logistically, these massive banks are having to have, different logistics and processes for pushing these loans through. So that's it for that, Kevin. I want to just touch on the mortgage relief too, real quick, before we hand it off to Travis.
Sure.
This article was pretty good. This is about for renters, and we can push this out to, everybody if they want to read it. I'm not gonna read it because we just don't have time. But there was another article that I'll actually maybe piggyback with this if people want to get two most recent articles. I think this one was published 2 days ago on Monday, but it's talking about now what we're hearing is how is mortgage relief going to come into the marketplace. We have a lot of people filing for unemployment. We have a lot of people that are potentially losing their hours or losing jobs. They maybe own a home. They may be a renter. Gavin Newsom, our governor, did announce that the four major banks have committed to offering mortgage relief. Some like B of A, Wells Fargo, Chase, amongst other I think it was also a combination of 200 credit unions and smaller banks have all pledged to offer mortgage relief to their consumers and their borrowers. Each lender it's not a uniform thing at this point. This is still evolving as well. So and I want to be really clear here because I have just something else to share on this. If you don't need the relief, this is not a time just to say, oh, I'm not going to pay my mortgage and I'm just going to, try to save 4 months of mortgage payments because I'm not, that's what they're offering. That's not what they're saying. This is really truly for people who are experiencing hardship. And, I have some good guidance here from a gal, my rep over at Home Point Financial, and she had posted on her kind of her Facebook page and she, knowledge is power. And the most important thing is that, to have this, I want to read this to you real quick. It says, many consumers believe that Fannie and Freddie guidance is a blanket allowance to just stop paying their mortgage for 12 months without notifying their mortgage company. Consumers are unaware. Number one, this requires approval. You are required to document that you've been impacted. So it's not, like I said, it's not a blanket thing where you're just going to be able to say, oh, I'm impacted. You're going to have to show that you were there or had a job, that you're no longer, employed, or your income's been reduced. You're going to have to show some sort of documentation.
And Bill, we discussed yesterday, it's not like you're going to get the money free anyway. It's going to be pretty much just tacked on the back end of your loan, right?
Right. Well, right. Yeah. And it's going to depend investor to investor or lender to lender. Like B of A right now they're going month to month. Some are offering 4 months, and some have kind of said they're going to just extend the term. So if they give you a 4-month relief, they're just going to tack on 4 months to the back end of your term, which for me, logically, that sounds like probably one of the better options. Yeah. Some people, I have heard something about they're going to offer, I think Travis mentioned this yesterday, a couple of investors were talking about doing not like a balloon, at the end of the month that you have the relief, you're going to owe all back due payments, which to me, that doesn't sound like much relief, because who's going to be able to, if you're going through a hardship, how are you going to save the money? And then you're going to have some 4-month balloon payment. Like, that to me doesn't make much sense.
No.
But you're going to want to call, if it's something that you need to look into, you're going to want to either call your servicer, whoever on the mortgage statement, or the lender, and find out what your options are. It is dependent on each individual investor. So you're going to want to make sure you do that. I did find out here locally in town, one of the property management companies they sent out a notification about renter relief. If you're a tenant, what they had said was that if you're having issues or you've been impacted by the COVID-19 virus, that you contact them, let them know what's going on. The approval does have to be done by the landlord, but they are willing to talk and offer some sort of relief, or just work things out and just see what the situation is. So I think that's going to be more local. I think you're going to see more and more cities offering relief as far as eviction protection, because the last thing they're going to want is, people getting evicted in this type of crisis, right? When we're supposed to be trying to get through this as a community and as a state, local, county, country, all together. We really are going to have to work together to get through this.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to try to evict people when we're trying to keep people indoors.
Yeah, so what I can do, Kevin, is if anyone's interested in these 2 articles that I have about the mortgage relief and also this renter relief, they go through some pretty good, and they outline it pretty well. So it's a good resource just to kind of read through and kind of get your wheels turning if these are things that you or your borrowers or family members are going through, just to be educated and be on top of it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Bill. I think that really helps a lot of the people on the webinar today, understand that I wasn't clear on all those guidelines. So I appreciate that.
Yep. And I will circle back when we get Michelle on at the end.
Perfect. All right. Well, Travis, let's shift gears to you and let me know which of the two of these kind of guidelines that you sent me you'd like to go over first.
So first, I want to just piggyback on what Bill was talking about with the mortgage relief.
Yeah.
I think it's important right now for real estate agents to be mindful of what they are sharing, you know, in their social media and everything. Make sure that it's, you know, coming from a creditable source, and on top of it, you know, it's good to share information. Just make sure that it's coming from a credible source and that it's true. And then if people are asking you about it and you don't have that information, I would just refer them to speak to their bank direct about what that specific bank is, you know, offering as far as mortgage relief. I don't even necessarily know that I would offer to read the approval that gets sent over if they get one, to decipher it for them. I would just refer them back. So just in case there is some sort of balloon payment due at the end of the few months and you miss it, and then now they're mad at you, or, you know, who knows what. So just be mindful of that kind of stuff. And then going back one step further with Bill was talking about appraisals and being patient and things like that. I think, you know, me and Bill talked last week, and if you can't get the new CVA form from CAR worked into the contract when you're writing the contract, or if you already have escrows going, if you can't get, you know, the other party to agree to the CVA, if you're representing the buyer, I think it's probably prudent right now to hold out on releasing the loan contingencies. There's been some deals where the approval went out and buyers released their contingency, and then the lender, you know, the next day or next few days said, "Oh, we don't have that loan program anymore. We're not doing it," or the FICO changed or whatever, and then they're pulling the approval back. So I think, I don't know if Bill wants to touch on that as well, but
no, I honestly, I would not remove loan contingency right now. You know, it just, there's just too much going on. You know, I think that Travis is right about getting that what was the disclosures that they call it, the
CVA, the coronavirus addendum.
Okay, the CVA.
Yeah,
learning all
pretty straightforward.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they just updated it too, actually.
Yeah, I just really, I wouldn't remove the loan contingency, and I think that if you're an educated listing agent, you're going to understand. Once again, it's going to come down to your, you know, looking at the financing situation, looking at the, you know, likelihood, you know, is this a Freddie Fannie type situation where those loans are still very strong? Is it under the county loan limit? Are they trying to do a second and doing a high balance loan in a county that doesn't even have, I mean, all those little things that you guys, you know, some of you may be very savvy to, some not. You can always call me and ask me too, just to get a reference on it. But there's certain loans that I would be like, I don't know, you know, that's going to be a long shot right now, you know, trying to put that together. But, you know, if it's under the county loan limit, they're putting the, you know, they have great credit, they have stable job, you know, those types of loans are still going to be fine. There's not, you know, those are going to be, you know, pretty much steady as they go. But, you know, anything exotic, anything a little bit out of the box, I'd be very, very cautious with.
Very smart, Bill.
Yeah, or even if the borrower was like kind of on the FICO borderline, you know, that might be one where you want to hold out too.
Yeah.
You know, and just remember that, you know, the contract does call for it to be released, you know, at a certain point, 21 days by default, but it's not released until you physically do it. So, you know, the listing agent is going to have to go through the notice of buyer to perform and so on and so forth, and they're probably going to be hassling you. But first and foremost, we need to protect the buyer's earnest money. So if the seller is going to cancel in this market, which I think would be kind of silly in a lot of markets, you have to have that conversation with your buyer if they're prepared to have the cancellation versus risking their earnest money potentially because of loan changes going on by the hour.
Yeah, I think too, just do your best to have good communication with the other agent. Nothing's going to substitute good common sense communication. Get a feel for how motivated that buyer is or that seller is. Do they really understand how this is being impacted? Just really be on top of it, and having that communication is going to go a long way through your escrows, because right now it's just, we're all going through this together. You're going to be able to protect your clients and also close your deals.
Yep. So moving forward, so California Association of Realtors has this little microsite going. If you have not checked it out, I would recommend checking it out. They're updating it regularly. This is, part of the blog section, basically. So when you get on the homepage, they have all the updates right there. But they did release the guidelines for practicing real estate right now. As if you haven't heard, got deemed in quotes as essential services now. So we can be out doing stuff if you so choose to. If you are hunkering down and want to do that, obviously keep doing that. But if you're wanting to work, or if you have clients that are wanting to show homes, if you have people needing to list their home, maybe they have some hardship going on already and they need to list, that little microsite right there, the guidelines, they go through basically everything, pre-marketing a home, showing a home, listing the home, going through inspections, all that stuff. And basically it's social distancing is still the number one, focus, and being safe, obviously. But they do break it down really well as to what their guidelines are for conducting business should you be out there still conducting business. So I don't know if you want to go back to that page, Kevin,
sure,
and just kind of scroll through a little bit.
This one?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they have their best practices in there. A little further down, they go into pre-marketing of the listings.
Entering a seller's property, yeah.
Yep. So
pre-market. Okay, yeah, this is great, guys. This is just a really good resource. And I did put both of these links in the chat, and of course, when I put the replay out, I'll include these links and all the other links that we talked about.
So I've been getting a lot of calls, obviously, about, hey, I have a buyer, they want to see a home, what do I do? I'm kind of referring everybody back to this site right now, because this is what CAR put out. This is what CAR is recommending. Obviously, they've had multiple eyes on this and put it together as a collaborative, feeling that this is our best practices right now for the current market. So this is the kind of stuff that I'm putting into the Facebook group, just keeping people updated as things come out. This would be, one of many things that I'm kind of sharing out there. It's not always dry and boring like this, but it's just really important to stay on top of what's going on. So use this as your guidelines. If you have questions, it's basically like, FAQs on getting a deal done from start to finish right now. So the other thing that I'm seeing and that we've started to put out is just some additional either like acknowledgments and things like that I'm seeing floating around from other brokerages that they're putting out there, as far as like property access acknowledgments and different things like that. I imagine we're going to see that in every market. Some additional things, maybe the seller wants you to sign before showing the property or vice versa. Read through those, determine if it's something you want to sign or not. We do have a property access acknowledgement, basically just stating that, everybody is going to be forthcoming if they have, tested positive or been exposed to COVID, and agree to, not access the property, so on and so forth. It's got some other acknowledgments on there, and then everybody signs it, and, hopefully everything will be okay. We're in uncharted territory once again in our real estate careers. And, no one knows what's going to hold up in court, what lawsuits are going to come out about this, but, having some extra layers of protection never hurts. So I would say use, especially the property access acknowledgement, and we can send that out today as well, for conducting your showings and accessing property, and then use these guidelines on top of that CAR put out as far as entering a home.
Yeah, that's perfect, Travis. So, we got to have a little bit of a layer. And in most cases, the courts do look at, in case there is kind of some kind of a lawsuit, did you take reasonable steps to, protect your client? That's kind of what it always comes down to. So just, using these guidelines as, and making sure that we have these disclosures and so forth. That's the way that we're going to do it.
Yeah, all we could do is our best. So what's going to happen is what's going to happen later on. But
exactly.
Whatever we can avoid, and I think everybody is well aware of what's going on, obviously. So I don't think that most people are going to have any issues with signing these acknowledgments, because it protects them as well. The seller is obviously going to be, might have concerns about people entering their home, and the buyer might have concerns about being in the home, So we've got, people that are working in the medical profession out there buying homes, out there selling homes. They may or may not be, more high risk as far as exposure. And is that something that we should be letting the other party know? I would say yes,
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing. It's, we always talk about disclose. I think that this is one of those things. So.
Yeah, very well said.
Well, it's almost a material fact, huh, Travis? I mean, if you know that somebody works in, say, the emergency room, or you have a client that's a medical professional that is, dealing with people that have the flu or have this COVID, ailment, and you don't disclose that, well, that's kind of a material fact that's going to maybe be a problem.
Yeah. It's not like it was before when you can, show a home with a cold. It's much more sensitive now. So,
yeah. And Travis, Anthony asks, do we give the property acknowledgement form to the buyer to sign before they enter the property for showing?
So the one that I derived was one that was shared out within a group. And that one would be, if you're going to be showing a property, you would sign it, the buyer would sign it, and the seller would sign it. And if the listing agents, whoever is going to be in the property is going to sign it. So, and then if you, write an offer, you get an acceptance. I would do it with the appraiser. I do it, especially if you're on the listing side. I would, anybody that's accessing the home, if I was on the listing agent, I would have them sign this.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, Travis, thanks so much for bringing us up to speed with that. Bill, would you like to bring our guest speaker on the line today?
Yeah, let's see if we can get Michelle on.
Okay. Michelle, can you, is your microphone on?
It is. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle. How are you? How are we today?
Oh, we're great. How are you?
We're getting through some serious stuff here.
Right.
Everybody, I just want to introduce Michelle Gordon. She is an agent that's been with us for a couple of years now, and she's an outstanding agent, very professional. She does a lot of the HERO program with firefighters, police officers, teachers, all sorts of, community professional people. She does a great job in her niche. And, I was speaking with Michelle a couple of days ago. We just had such a good, I just, I hadn't touched base with her in a little while, called, and we were catching up about, kids and life and all this stuff. And we had a really good conversation about what's going on right now as a realtor and what she's doing, and also how she's staying up to date with what's happening in her local community. And Michelle lives in Long Beach but works a pretty broad area of Southern California. So she has to, really be on top of what's going on in her local community, but also in the surrounding communities. So Michelle, I want you just, if you could go through real quick what you've been finding out and where you've been doing as a realtor, because I think, Kevin, Travis, and I can, obviously, we're all doing our position in the company. We're doing all our various niche, roles, but you're actually, your job is to be a realtor. Your job is to sell homes, and your, full-time, position is to do that. And so, you're an experienced agent. You've, been with us for a couple of years now. You've closed several deals, and I really, appreciated your time the other day. So I want you to kind of, if you can, go into where you're getting this information for your local community, how you're coming up with, what's going on. And then I'd love to finish it off on a real positive note, because you had some really good ideas of how you're doing your marketing now. You're staying busy. You're anticipating coming out of this and coming out of this stronger than ever. So let's start with the local. I think you're going to talk about what essential real estate really means and how you're kind of deciphering that for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously right now is a huge change of adapting to what's going on, specifically with the stay-at-home orders and how that affects how we move within the business. So obviously we were deemed essential based in California as a whole, but you have to go specifically by each county and then state, because whoever has the more strict regulations is who you have to follow. So even though for the state of California we're essential, we're still limited as to what our functions are within that. But also you have to make sure that if your clients, your seller or your buyer, if your buyer is looking at more than one city, you need to be taking a look at specifically what's the restrictions per county and city. So I really work in 3 different counties: LA County, Orange County, and Riverside County. So I have to be checking those 3 counties, and then more specifically the cities within those. So where I'm finding the information is pretty much every city and county has a dedicated web page to COVID-19, who's essential, what the restrictions are. And if you ever have a question, you can reach them on Facebook. Their Facebook pages, they have COVID-19 pages, but also their city web pages, and you can shoot them a message, and a lot of the times they have somebody who's monitoring that. So making sure that you are looking specifically, go to the county page, see what those specific restrictions are, then dial it down to the city. If you still have questions, check the Facebook page. There's also a lot of good information per city. I know for me, I have my Facebook page of Long Beach City set up to get notifications specifically for my city. So when they go live, when the mayor goes live to speak, or if there's any changes, then I get a notification and I go on and I look that up and I see what's changing. And make sure that you're looking at your specific local association, because I know we have agents all over California. So check with your local association, see if they have a list and that they're updating that list regularly with those requirements, as well as Travis shared, CAR has a great splash page for everything COVID. So making sure that you're checking those practices and guidelines. NAR has been putting things out. OCAR and PWR, who are 2 local associations that I utilize, both have specific information for the area. So making sure that you're checking with them for also not just the restrictions, but best practices, and also people within the association saying, hey, this is how I'm adapting, and they're sharing, new ways of marketing and things like that. So just dialing into your local associations will give you a good avenue of information and resources. And then of course, I threw in there, you definitely use Alta's disclosure and then the CAR disclosure. And that CAR disclosure can be used before that contract has been formed. So it just makes sure, again, that you're disclosing upfront that we have this pandemic and things within the transaction. If we go into contract, things can change on a dime. And so everyone is aware before we even open escrow.
Such good advice, Michelle. And just that really is important, because I know that, things down here in Southern California, at least from what I understand, aren't as bad yet as they are potentially in Northern California, some of those areas up there near Sacramento and portions of the Bay Area where it's a much stricter stay-at-home type of policy.
Absolutely. Long Beach is shut down. Real estate, if you want to do anything in Long Beach, it's very restrictive right now. And they are really starting to crack down in this area. They're very serious about the stay-at-home order. So we just have to be aware of that and make sure that we are doing our best to service our clients while keeping their safety in mind, but also following basically the laws that are put out for us.
Exactly. Trav, anything to add to that point?
One quick question from Priscilla Miller. She just asked, if the property's vacant, can you go see it?
That would be more of a Travis question and
yes,
the guidelines.
Yes,
yeah.
Indeed.
I mean, it's going back to, what Michelle was talking about, city by city, county by county. So CAR and the state of California in general is saying we are essential, but, social distancing guidelines are still in effect. Now, right. The cities, they're going to have their own overlays of what they feel they need to do locally, because maybe they could be a hotspot or not. So they may say everybody's in, doesn't matter if the home is vacant or occupied or what. So definitely, like Michelle was talking about, use the resources you have, look at the city sites. The boards have been really good about putting out a lot of information. I've just been getting bombarded with emails, but instead of, kind of letting a lot of them go unread, I'm reading them all right now, because I want to see what's going on locally and what their recommendations are and best practices and things like that. So, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent stuff, guys. Do we have any other questions, Kevin, on this kind of topic for local stuff?
Nope, not in the chat.
Okay. Well, I want to move on to more kind of fun stuff, which is building our business and growing our marketing and what we're doing. We had touched on this a couple of weeks ago. I think Kevin and Travis and myself were talking about utilizing this time being at home. We're not showing as many properties. We're not doing as many open houses. We have time now to sit at our computer. We have time to work on our marketing plans. And, part of my conversation with Michelle a couple days ago was what she's doing. And I want to let her talk about what she's doing now to prepare for the future when we come out of this and we can get back to some sort of normalcy and be able to take advantage of this. Because I think from my perspective, the people that are doing the things that Michelle is starting to do and look at, these are the people that are going to be coming out of the gates roaring, because no doubt, whatever happens with real estate, if there's a decline or things stay pretty stable, economy comes back, we're going to have buyers and sellers. We know that, but how are we going to be prepared for that as we get on the other side of this thing? So, Michelle, what kind of things are you doing now to prepare yourself? And I know you mentioned Josh, your husband, was helping you with some things as well. So I'll let you kind of explain what you've been doing.
Absolutely. Well, and for those of you, my husband is also a licensed agent as well, except for he works new construction, new home builds. So it's a little bit different. So now that he's home, since the builds are closed, he's helping me kind of work on my business to really ramp up for, adapting to the new market that we're going to enter. And so the first thing that I really started to do was take advantage of the free continuing education classes through CAR, because we're all going to need to renew our license, and we always go, oh no, we don't have time. And then we get down to the last, 2 months and we're scrambling to try to get that done. So making sure that you're using that free resource and getting your continuing education requirements done so you don't have to worry about it later. So that was my first thing, but that's also because my license is due this month. So I wanted to make sure we got that done.
Great point though. Anyways, that's an outstanding point.
It is. And also the ethics are due this year too. The ethics requirements. So we all love those.
And there's actually my mother-in-law, who's also a local real estate agent, in my market as well shared with me that there is a free COVID disclosure class through the CE shop. So there's actually talking about some of the pitfalls of things going on. So the CE shop has a free COVID-19 class that you can take right now. So that would be a good one. The other thing was catching up on all the Alta webinars. So I'm a mom of a toddler and have fallen behind in those webinars. So now I have an opportunity to start going back and watching and rewatching some of those webinars because that has a plethora of information. The other thing is, and this is what I have my husband working on, so he kind of can help me on the business side too, is CAR, NAR, zip forms, your local association, MLS, they all have webinars, online courses, trainings, all kinds of things that are available at your fingertips. And so I'm trying to do at least 1 to 2 of those courses and webinars a day on things that I didn't know, products that are available that are paid through our association and through CAR. There's great programs and resources that I haven't tapped into because I just didn't know how to use them. So taking this opportunity to learn those and implement into my business. The other thing is our market has shifted drastically, and when we come out on the other side of this, it's going to be a different kind of market. And so the business plan that you may have created last year isn't necessarily going to be best for this new market. So taking a look at that and seeing where you might need to change things or adjust things to the new market and making sure that you have the information and the knowledge that you need, whether it be from the lending side or from the legal side, to be able to get out there and sell more and do more. So taking a look at your business plan, if you haven't created one, which a lot of agents don't, that's okay. Now's the time to do that. There's a ton of resources online on real estate specific business plans. So taking some time and finding one that kind of fits your personality and your work style and creating a business plan. So what are the areas that you really want to focus on and drive home in your business, and then setting out attainable goals within that and the steps to get there. So that now is the time to do that. You know, every day spend 30 minutes just looking at your business plan. Okay, what do I need to change? How do I need to adjust things? So right now for us, because of all this, we're changing one of our major niches. We're going to continue with the heroes niche because I've been doing that for a number of years and it's a big passion of mine. However, now we're expanding into more probates. We've been talking about it. I've been wanting to get into the probate side. I've been building some relationships with some probate attorneys, but now I have the time to sit down and actually build a specific leg of my business plan so that as soon as I can be out there full force, here's what I'm doing. And there's things that I can be doing right now to start building those relationships virtually with people that I haven't touched yet. So my business plan needs to include that. So I'm working on adding that leg. And then what I'm doing then is starting to actually work the business plan right now. So reaching out to some of the probate attorneys that I hadn't had a chance to connect with yet and trying to connect with them virtually, whether it be text, whether it be Facebook messages, whether it be a Zoom call, whatever it is, I'm trying to start establishing those relationships now so that when the courts are back open and life resumes, we already have those connections and we can start getting those referrals and building those relationships and getting those deals.
Such good advice, Michelle. And that's one thing that's really impactful, because you can use the phone, you can use the email, you can use text, you can use Facebook Messenger, and you can connect with attorneys, people in probate. You can let them know what your services are, what areas you work. I mean, this is a perfect example of how you can spend time building, like Michelle said, a leg of her business. She's done a majority of her business building through the HERO program with the first responders and those types of people. But now she's going to start working on a probate leg. And what a really powerful motivating words there for all of us to know that we can do stuff like this while we're unfortunately at our homes and being kind of in our quarantines.
Absolutely. And the thing too, and I put this on the list, is whoever your title rep is, make sure that they like to strategize with you. I have an amazing title rep who says, okay, about your business, what things you want to work on. And then he has amazing ideas and things that they can offer through title that don't go against RESPA, but that are a huge resource to the areas that I'm trying to target. And for the attorneys, that it's going to be meaningful to them and things that they need that's not going to cost me. So being able to utilize the budget during this time, the marketing budget, in extra ways. So get with your title person. Okay, these are my ideas, but have a plan first. Have some idea and then have them help strategize with that. And if you don't have a title person who's willing to do that, get somebody.
Excellent, excellent advice.
The other thing is following up past clients. If you haven't talked to them for a couple years, this is a great time to reach out and be a resource for them. Maybe they're struggling and it's, you know, they need a specific script to talk to some of their bills, or maybe they just need a voice on the other side that's familiar and friendly. We take for granted sometimes that we think everybody has somebody to talk to. Sometimes they don't. And if you're that voice and if you're that person reaching out and making that touch, you're first in mind again, but it also shows that you're a person and you're caring, and it's not always about business, right? Because this business is so relational. Most of my business comes from referrals and from the Hero program and referrals within the Hero program. So for me, it's all about the relationships and building those relationships. And so reaching out to your past clients, your strategic partners, there's so many different ways to do it. Creating a video to send out in a newsletter or email, texting, call. Absolutely call when you can. Be that voice. So for me, just touching base with my database. And we're looking at another 4 weeks of this at least. So I mean, you can get through your database in that time for sure.
Oh yeah. Michelle, you are, you're just, every single thing that you're saying, you're just preaching to the choir over here.
I know you guys get it. And we as agents, we know it, but we just don't always do it. But now's the time to push ourselves. We always say, oh, I don't have time, or, we get distracted with 500 other things, but we have the time now. Our legs in some sense have been cut off from what we normally would do, but that doesn't mean we can't be working our business. Just because we're not out showing or listing as much doesn't mean we can't be working a business.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
I always say put in your 8 hours, even though a lot of this, it's a lot more than that. But for those, who don't really have a lot going on, maybe there's 8 hours of stuff you could be doing every day for sure to get a client working this weekend,
Yeah.
So don't take online presence as for granted either, because it's big. And spending a little time doing your Facebook business, not the business page, but your Google business page and getting it verified is huge. I know one of our agents, she's taking about a listing a month right now that she gets for free from calls that come off of her Google business page, and she posts every day on through a lot of people don't know that, but there's actually, you can do posts in the Google business page, and Google likes to be interacted with. And she gets most of her business now from the Google business page, and it's free. She put in a little bit of time in the beginning, and now she just maintains with postings once a day.
And guys, the way that you do that is
something to my list.
Yeah,
there you go.
And Kevin can definitely help you with this.
Oh yeah. This is all the kinds of fun stuff I like to do. So, and what you do, guys, is you literally go to Google My Business. Just go to Google and put in Google My Business, and it'll be like sign up, manage now, and you can create your own listing.
Yep.
I'm taking notes because that's now going to be added to my to-do list.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then she also requests reviews, and she's not sending out 100 in one day. She's sending them out here and there. And again, It doesn't have to be somebody you've necessarily done business with. It could be a vendor. It could be friends and family, and maybe they can give you a good character review about being knowledgeable and ethical, you know? So don't take those for granted either. You know, all your friends and family, they want to help you out. They'll give you at least a 1 or 2 liner, I'm sure, on a Google review. And again, that is just going to really boost up your business page profile,
as well as your digital footprint, as we say.
Yep, they will definitely put you in front of people searching.
Totally.
Well, Kev, maybe next week what we can do is we can update some of these things that will likely obviously change both on the lending side and you know, what Travis is seeing out there from the broker perspective. But maybe we can touch on some of these you know, things that Michelle's brought to the surface, stuff that you've talked about in the past, Kevin, and we can maybe do like a you know, kind of a you know, an inside marketing kind of you know, I don't know, best ideas, best you know, practices for what we're dealing with right now, and really help everyone kind of structure themselves to kind of do some of this stuff.
Yeah, not a problem at all. And I could also direct everybody to some of the you know, some of the webinars that we've already done covering a lot of these topics as well. I know that there's, you know, over 100 videos on our YouTube channel now, but you know, I think it does make sense for me every once in a while to say, hey, watch these videos, you know, and I do that to a lot of agents, especially when agents join. You know, I can recommend, hey, you know, these are some good ones. I do a lot of training on exactly what Michelle was talking about. So yeah, it's a great idea, Bill.
Yeah, no worries. Well, we want to thank Michelle so much for coming on. It really, I think it really translates to the other agents that are listening, that are, you know, out there kind of maybe sometimes maybe going, wow, how, you know, how am I going to be impacted? How am I going to get through this? And I think it's reassuring to hear what you're doing and how you're getting through it. So we really appreciate you coming on today, Michelle.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I really like your number 13. I think that's probably one of the most important things on that list.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy time.
Yeah,
we'll get through it, and the business always comes back. It does. We will get back to business, and this will be a blip on the radar.
Yep. Everybody's in the same boat. And when the buyers, they're literally holding their breath right now, waiting to go and find a home when they can. So absolutely. I know my lead gen has blown up. So yeah, people are online.
For sure. All right, agents, thank you so much for joining us. I know this was a long webinar. We went about a half an hour over, but it was really important, and I appreciate all of your time. Get back out there, make it a productive week, and looking forward to seeing you guys on the webinar next week, and also looking forward to seeing, hopefully, most of you 6 p.m. on Friday on our first ever ARG happy hour. So look for the invite there. All right, guys, take it easy. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.